Hey there, my name is Raymond Bokenya from True Tangazo, Uganda, and it's been a wonderful year engaging on many levels, looking at many questions of life and faith. It's Christmas time, and one of the texts that you will hear or you've had used many times from the Bible when it's Christmas time is a beautiful prophecy from the prophet Isaiah. It comes from Isaiah chapter 9, and I'll read just a few verses and then we will reflect on them in view of what is later fulfilled and shown to us by the gospel writers. Isaiah chapter 9 verse 1 says, "But there will be no gloom for her who was in anguish, and in the former time he who brought into contempt the land of Zebulun and the land of Naphtali. But in the latter time he has made glorious the way of the sea, the land beyond the Jordan, Galilee of the nations." Now take note of Galilee of the nations. But then in verse 2 he says, "The people who walked in darkness have seen a great light. Those who dwelt in a land of deep darkness, on them a light has shone." Of course, some people will say shined. Nevertheless, that's what it means. Now, that prophecy looks back over 700 years before Jesus is born, to a time when Israel as a nation, as a people, lived similarly in the same times as Jesus is born in. Doom and gloom, bloodshed. In fact, the verses that we use more often at the time of Jesus' birth at Christmas are later in verse 6, when it talks about, "For to us a child is born, for to us a son is given, and the government shall be upon his shoulders, and his name shall be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace, and of the increase of his government and of peace there shall be no end, and on the throne of David over his kingdom, to establish it and uphold it with justice and righteousness from this time forth and forevermore." Now, that is the text we normally use, but we don't look at the context within which actually Isaiah gives this prophecy. But it comes to a people that have lost hope, a people that are downtrodden, a people that are living in darkness, of which that darkness is an instrument of both oppression and basically not only oppression, but hopelessness. It is used to make sure that people have no hope. And wickedness, it's an atmosphere for wickedness. But yet he pronounces that a great light has come upon them. That light would then mean that the oppressor has nowhere to hide, and not only outside, but then even the one who is oppressed has to introspect and say, is there any darkness that I'm hiding inside of me? Looking at our world today, celebrating Christmas, because it comes upon us every year. If you had an opportunity to look at the problems in the whole world, what kind of solutions would you be offering? I'm a teacher, I'm a parent, I love to tell stories. One of my little girls, actually our last born, is almost 2. She hates darkness. Every time power goes off in the night, she literally bursts out and cries. And you wonder, before 2, what do you know about darkness? Why are you even afraid of darkness? Her hope is restored, and she is reassured of safety when we switch on even the slightest of lights. Just a torch or a phone will reassure her that, okay, I'm safe and there is hope. Now, in the world that we live in today, whether it is in the US, Ukraine, go to Gaza, maybe Nigeria, South Sudan, or the Sudan together, Congo. Go to Tanzania, well, come to Uganda. The situation can look as doom and gloom. When you switch on the news, you'll see it. It is doom. It is wickedness everywhere. It is injustice everywhere. It is hopelessness everywhere. Unrighteousness reigns everywhere. In such a state, if I may ask, what kind of solution would you offer the world? It is annoying even to imagine that all God can offer is another Christmas. But is it just another Christmas? What does Christmas mean in a world that wallows or languishes in anguish, in bloodshed, in anger, without peace? What does Christmas mean to us? Let's ask, what did Christmas mean to the first recipients of the news of Jesus' birth? The gospel writers tell us that when Jesus was born, if you go back to whether it's Matthew or Luke, because the other gospel writers, Mark and John, don't give us the birth, but Matthew and Luke tell us when he was born, news comes to different people. In Matthew, it comes to Magi, or wise men from the east, who come to Jerusalem, to Bethlehem, and meet a man called King Herod and tell him, we have seen a great light, a great star shining so bright, announcing the birth of the King of the Jews. And a King Herod, who was the instrument of the oppressing regime, the Roman Empire, wonders how there is a King of the Jews. What would it mean to have the King of the Jews? In fact, it is interesting how the Magi, or the wise men, refer to him, or Matthew records that they refer to him as the Christ. The Christ would mean the Messiah, because the Christ is an English word to mean Messiah, and the Messiah was the long-awaited Redeemer of the people of Israel, who had gone through a lot of oppression. They were downtrodden, they were hopeless. The situation we live in the world today is not any different, and people are longing and they're waiting for a solution. Now, one writer has said that if our greatest need was food, God would have provided us an agriculturalist or a producer of food. If our greatest need was education, definitely God would have provided a great teacher, a professor. If our greatest need had been nuclear weapons or weapons of warfare, he would have sent us an expert at that. You could go on and think about, if our greatest need was entertainment, he would have sent us a great entertainer. If our greatest need was scientific and technological, he would have sent us one of the greatest innovators. But because our greatest need was salvation, because our greatest problem was and still remains sin, he gave us a savior, a redeemer, a Messiah, one who comes also as king to establish a new government, as Isaiah says in his prophecy. Now, why is that necessary? Because you know what? We live in a world where everyone seems to be running their own government. Every government seems to be running their own agenda. Every part of the world seems to have a different kind of problem and needing different kind of solutions. So reasonably, you will provide different solutions for Ukraine, for America, for Nigeria, for Sudan, for Congo, for Uganda, and anywhere. We always think of providing different solutions, and justifiably so. But then God keeps calling us to look at this particular solution. Why? Because as human beings, our approach is always to deal with the symptoms. We never want to deal with the real problem. But God emphasizes every year when we gather to celebrate Christmas, when we are merry-making, when we are just rejoicing, continuing in darkness and continuing to enjoy wickedness. Because honestly, most of us, when it comes to Christmas, we are looking forward to what we call holidays, to just eat and drink and merry-make and festivities, and just even innovate further on in terms of wickedness. And we like and prefer that there will be some pseudo light. We will turn on Christmas lights, but they're not always bright. No, they're just to add on to the merrymaking and the fun. But then there is a greater light that shines beyond the outside, a greater light that shines even in my heart, to check whether there is any darkness that is hidden in my own heart. I may look at the oppressor and say, "Oof, they are really wicked, and they are living in darkness, and they are dwelling and they are delighting in darkness." But then even to the Jew who is hearing the prophecy, God is saying, even you need the light. That's why John, writing his gospel in John chapter 1, refers to Jesus as the light. And he says, John the Baptist came announcing that there was a man who was coming, who was a light, and not only light, but also life. Not only light, but also life. That in this light, both the oppressor and the downtrodden, or the captive, the oppressed, need this light for a life that is different. And friends, yes, you might be one who delights in partying and celebrating. Honestly, it's time to party and celebrate. Merry make, it's festivities. But when you're done, you need to ask yourself, then what? What was this all about? Was it just another holiday, or just to spend money? Because again, January will come and you have spent the money. But why not spend it for a good reason? You see, this whole hopelessness does not end just because we had a party. Parties do not add to our hope. Neither do they do they take away hopelessness. No. In fact, they compound it, because we get a shot of joy. We get a sort of a drug that numbs our hopelessness and our darkness. Yet in a short while, it dawns on us that we are still stuck in the same cycle. So we go back to the same calendar year. January comes and the next Christmas is in December. And that's when we will remember that, wait a minute, Jesus was born. But Jesus is not only born that we may celebrate and eat and drink, because actually the atmosphere in which Jesus is born, as we are told by the gospel writers, there is no celebration. There is more doom, there is more gloom, because the oppressor does not want the people whom he oppresses to get freedom. Yet later on, Luke tells us that the reason Jesus comes, he picks up the script of the prophet Isaiah, the scroll, and says, the Spirit of the Lord is upon me, and he has anointed me to announce good news to the poor, to announce freedom to the captives, to the prisoner. Yes, that's why he came. That's his purpose for being born at Christmas. That's why we celebrate not just a day, but a season, a time that changes all of history. Christmas is not a time just to celebrate, but a time to reflect on what changed when Jesus was born. Everything changed. History changed. Lives changed, and lives need to continue to be changed. And finally, friends, this very Jesus, when he's doing his ministry, he has called disciples. He tells them, you are the salt of the world. You are the light. You are the salt of the earth, and you are the light of the world. And he tells them that if you let your light shine before the world, they will see it and they will glorify your Father who is in heaven. Which comes back to you and I, who are believers and followers of this Jesus who is celebrated at Christmas. The question is then, if you're his follower, are you shining the light, the great light that Jesus brings at Christmas? Because if you're not shining it, then the people can't see it. The sun is not enough. The celebrations at Christmas are not enough. The Christmas trees are not enough. The festivities are not enough. No. But your life that shines every single day of the year because of Christ who lives in you is Christmas every day of every year. And therefore people should be rejoicing and looking to God the Father who gave us this light at Christmas. Then hope is restored. So friends, the story of Christmas pronounces a great light that shines in great darkness to bring us great hope. Whatever the situation is, whether in Ukraine, Gaza, America, Nigeria, yes, Congo, Sudan, even in Uganda, there's only one way to be sure of a greater hope. All the other hopes are temporal. They pass. If it is an electoral cycle, after 5 years, there will be another. If it is food, after a while, there will be need. If it is Christmas and festivities, after another year, we'll be having another. But there will never be a greater light than what Christ brings. So, go celebrate Christmas. Merry make, eat and drink, celebrate. Party and fun, have fun with family at Christmas. But why? Why? Why if you're going back to live in darkness? Why if you're not releasing the yoke on those that are downtrodden? Yes, there's only one reason why Jesus would come. There's only one reason why God would give us his son to be born at this time. that we may give into the light, we may receive his light and surrender to that light and get rid of that darkness. John says the light comes to the world where there is darkness and pushes it back, and the darkness cannot comprehend it and cannot stop it. Again, even if you want or not, he's here. He came already, and darkness will not push back on him, but rather he's going to conquer it. And I pray that your heart will be conquered by that light, and your life will never be the same again. So Merry Christmas from us, myself and my family and our team at True Tangazo, where we believe strongly that light is an instrument of God to transform the world. And that is the truth of the gospel. Merry Christmas, and we look forward to seeing you in the new year 2026. God bless you. Bye-bye.